Yo, 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 yo. Back again with the Swords of Cannon podcast, man. We bringing this in. This is called What is Wrong with the Books? Week 7 update, kind of a 6 week, 7 week report card on the team, man. Just wrapped up a pod, doing a pod with my good buddy Robert over there, the outside leverage. If y'all can go check that out. Me, him, and Princess Nikki, Books Princess. We had a very good conversation about all things books and what's going on. I decided to go ahead and just get some more content on the channel about what's happening, what's going on with this team, and the shortcomings and the troubles we do have. Uh, I like to start off with at the end of the day, we're not looking like what we should look like. Um, well, starting off with the season, going against the Cowboys, it looked like we was picking up what we was we were picking up what we left off from, far as last season, losing to the rounds, basically a blown coverage. But throughout the off season and having training camp and getting some new players in, letting some players go, and just but basically essentially being the same team, being in the same system, having that continuity for the third year, you think that this team would be much better and in a better place than we are now. We're currently sitting at 3-4. We have Thursday night football game against the Ravens. And quite frankly, this is not motivating. People are not interested. People think that we're already lost the game before we even played it. Offensively, we don't look anything like ourselves. We don't look like anything we should look like. Um, and people can allude to all the things that may be going on in Tom Brady's personal life, all the things that those things are affecting the team. Those things are creeping into the locker room. I don't really think that it's a problem because when you see Brady play on Sundays, he looks locked in. He looks focused. He's trying to move the ball. He's trying to do as much as he can to get this offense up and running. But for some reason, we just can't get it done. These are my perspectives. One, we have an offensive line problem. Luke Gedeke has shown that he is not capable of holding up at the left guard position, and this is why offensive line is very important for a guy like Tom Brady. And in this system, it's a vertical system. It's a system built and predicated on long developing routes, deep routes, and we simply just don't have the time. Brady is smart enough. He's 45 years old. He's not going to hold that ball longer than he have to get a route open or wait till a route to develop. Luke Gedeke is the interior of this line that we predicted when Jensen went down and Marpet retired that this may be an issue. When Marpet decided to retire, and unfortunately Jensen get hurt in training camp, like people that really know knew that this was going to be a problem for the Bucks going into the season. Like how would this offensive line, the interior more specifically, will hold up? And it's proven that it can't. Shaq Mason, he's really good. He's more of a run blocking type of guard. He's holding up on the right side, so it's not necessarily an issue on the right side because he's next to Trent Worth, so the right side is kind of solidified. But on that left side, even with Donovan Smith going down, and he's not 100% with a bad elbow, and you got Luke Gedeke next to him, and you got Robert Haynes, a first year guy, um, out of Notre Dame that's playing center. It's just not the same protection on Brady's blind side. And you could tell that Brady is not comfortable. You could tell that Brady is instantly looking for a way to get rid of the ball as soon as he get it, 2 seconds or less, he's getting rid of the ball. He's getting rid of the ball faster than he ever done. The last 3 seasons, almost a full second faster of getting rid of the ball. And to the point where if the first or second read isn't open, he's already looking to either check the ball down or throw it in the dirt. And maybe he is seeing ghosts, but I can't blame him because repeatedly over and over again that on that left side, specifically Luke Gedeke, that he cannot hold his weight. He cannot hold up and keep his block on long enough for at least a run play to develop and get a hole open. We have no push on the left side. We cannot create holes on the left side. Um, and I've been going back and forth with people about just this whole problem with the offense. And I think it's a combination of things, but it started with the O line because if you can't win in the trenches, you can't do anything else. And unfortunately, we do play a lot of teams with good defensive tackles, good defensive linemen in the trenches, and they're just simply beating us in the trenches. We can't hold up, we can't beat them. So with that, I think the play calling is affected by the ability to block, run block, and pass block. I think the play calling is affected by that. Not to say that that's the whole reason. I think we can do better with play calling as far as situational play calling because at the end of the day, we can move the ball, get in the red zone, but then we can't find a way to score. So that comes down to play calling. That comes down to scheming your guys to get them open and get them in position. But again, alongside with that, You got to have an O line that is able to block long enough for the play to kind of come together. Um, a lot of times it kind of look like Lenny is lacking that ball carrier vision. A lot of times it look like he just kind of is one of those guys that he get a couple steps in the hole, he's just gonna drop his head and bulldoze and not try to make another cut or not try to make the guy miss. That's why Rashad White is kind of gaining popularity as a guy that need to get more carries. Again, it comes down to play calling and offense coordinator and Byron Leftwich on why can't he get guys more involved and why can't he scheme more of his playmakers to get involved with the game. Rashad White should definitely get more carries. That's not to say that Lenny is not the top running back, not RB1, but Rashad White has proven that he's a good change of the change of pace back. He's more slipperier. He can kind of make a little more something out of nothing with his feet rather than just using relying on power like Lenny Fournette. You would definitely like to see Rashad White get more carries, but again, it's just coming down to a point where Byron Leftwich is looking in over his head. You have a situation where you had Bruce Arians last 2 seasons, kind of you know, give credit to Byron Leftwich as being kind of the guy that's in charge of the offense. He don't do anything. I don't really make calls. I don't call any plays. I don't decide the offense. It's all Byron Leftwich. This guy is basically trying to give the torch to Byron Leftwich, and it's kind of like giving him too much credit as if we didn't have Tom Brady. It's kind of weird because you making it seem like it's Byron Leftwich just mastermind of the offense, but negate, but also in the same breath negating the fact that we do have Tom Brady. So Tom Brady do add worth and value to a guy like Byron Leftwich and the system and how it works. Yeah, we'll took a downfall on talent, losing Gronk and AB and Marpet and Jensen due to injury. But at the same time, if Byron Leftwich was this good, he should be able to scheme and come up with game plans and use ingenuity to kind of, alleviate some of those issues, even with the lack of blocking on the offensive line, specifically on the right side with Luke Gedeke. Um, Getting Rashad White more involved in the plays and getting more reps and getting more carries. Just coming up with different ways to get the ball in playmakers' hands. This is the first time that people are already saying that Mike Evans looked like he's not going to even get 1,000 yards, and that's a huge problem for a guy that basically wakes up and gets 1,000 yards each season, isn't even getting the ball enough to justify him having the opportunity to get 1,000 yards. And once again, we can allude to the offensive line being an issue, and maybe that's what's killing a lot of the plays. Even if Byron Leftwich is calling the right plays, and this is what I was saying earlier. Yeah, play calling could be better, but let's take in the fact that what if some of the plays or a percentage of those plays are the right call, they just can't get executed from the lack of offensive blocking, drop passes. Maybe this receiver didn't run the right route. That's one of the biggest bombs I have with Scotty Miller. Like when he run his routes, and we've given him multiple opportunities to kind of carve his role in the offense, and be something other than just a deep threat. He can't run routes. He don't he run routes too open. He don't close them down, causing interceptions and missed opportunities where he's just not running a good route. And Brady can't get in chemistry with him. When you have basically receiving core that's been one of the top receiving cores in the league even before Brady got there. When you talk about Evans and Godwin and just the ineffectiveness that's going on this year, it's concerning, and it's kind of bad timing because now Arians is out of the picture, so to speak. It's all on Byron Leftwich for real, like really, and the offense is performing at an all time low. That's something to be said. It's something to you have to figure that out. You have to understand why. I don't really think what the things Brady's going through his personal life, and maybe this potential divorce, and him going to Robert Kraft wedding has a lot to do, or little to anything to do with how the offense is performing. I still think this guy is locked in. I still think he shows up on every Sunday ready to play and trying to win. I just think that you know this offense isn't being put in a situation to succeed. It's extremely hard to succeed in this offense, and that comes with a lack of coaching, lack of scheming, and lack of play calling. Russell Gage said to himself that he said, "Hey man, we just lack juice. Even when we make a catch, the energy is dead." You know, Who's responsible for that? Who riles up the offensive side of the ball and gets them ready to play? Is it the coaching? No, not necessarily. It's the leader on that offense. Tom Brady is not one of the rah-rah guys that get guys pumped up. You really have that left to Devin White that gets pumped up, but Devin White's probably doing it on the defense side. Mike Evans not one of them rah-rah guys. It's just it's not fun. It don't look fun for them. It look like everyone's playing nervous. It look like it's so military, so militant that you're not there to have fun. You're just there to do a job, and it's so much pressure to do that job that you're not having fun. And maybe that's affecting the way the offense is operating as far as execution. You have a lot of young guys. You got new guys in like Russell Gage. You got younger guys that maybe don't respond to that type of motivation Tom Brady is accustomed to doing, or it's just a combination of they don't believe that this scheme is good. They don't believe that they can succeed in this scheme. They don't see the vision. They don't feel or see the ingenuity in this scheme. They think everything is maybe just black and white. You just have to be better than your man. There's nothing special we're gonna do to get you open, or nothing special we're gonna do to make your job easier. You just have to be better than this man. And this is what me and my guy Robert was talking about in when I just got done with his podcast about this offense has really been, saved by talent versus tactic. And that was a very good point he brought up, because at one point in time we did have a Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown. We did have these guys that were just supremely talented than everybody. At one point, we was running Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown, and one could argue that maybe Chris Godwin was the third best receiver on that list, you know. And you got Gronkowski, you got OJ Howard, you got Cam Brate. We just had an abundance of talent that was just simply better than everyone on each and every Sunday. So even if the scheme wasn't good or the ingenuity wasn't there to get these guys open and make their jobs easier, we were just simply better than everybody. Now we don't have that. We're taking a step back on talent, and now you have to really, come up with ways to get your guys in position to score and succeed, and it's not happening. It don't look that way. The play calling, like I said, when it comes down again to the play calling and schemes, it's bad when you have fans that can predict what this play is going to be, or where this play is going, or who is going to get the ball. And I was telling Princess Nikki this, that I was like, hey, if we can be sitting on our couches and predict where and who is going to get the ball, trust me, defense is just out there playing, know it too. Coaches is out there telling the defense, okay, if they line up in this, Lennon's getting the ball up to good. If they line up in this, if you see Godwin going in motion, more than likely he's gonna get the ball. If you see this play in motion and they have Lennon in the backfield lined up like this, more than likely they're gonna run a zone and they're gonna use their receiver that's in motion to block the linebacker. Things like that. And it's becoming so predictable that, you know, again, it can be that the play calling is not good, and or it can be to the point where the play calling is not good, that it doesn't help a offensive line that's not blocking good on the left side. A lot of this is really coming down to the responsibility of the offensive coordinator. If you know you have a weak link on the left side of the ball, on the left side of the offensive line, what are you doing, or what can you do to alleviate that pressure of having these guys being exposed by really good defensive linemen and defensive tackles? Like I told Princess Nikki, is 31 other teams in the league. Not all of them have good offensive linemen also. So if these teams can win and figure out a way to score points, why can't we? You know, if the scheme and his play calling and his playbook is such this thing, why aren't we being effective on offense when we have the likes of a Tom Brady, a Mike Evans, a Chris Godwin, a Leonard Fournette, and all these other pieces that we've brought in, even some of the rookies and the younger guys in the Rashad White. You have these pieces in place. A K I and there's a rookie that's coming along. You have these pieces. We go get a Shaq Mason. We got Tristan Wirfs. We still have a serviceable Donovan Smith. We are a lot better than most of these teams in the league, but the record and our play doesn't match up to it. After the Bucks game, I could put on another game and just watch teams move the ball and score when they need to score, or just because certain players are working. I don't know what's going on with the offense as far as, is it mental, is it scheme, is it just players don't believe, is players checked out, or is the Tom Brady distraction really affecting the locker room? Nobody knows, but these are things that is evident to me. That is point is just kind of raised himself up to me that I have to question and put out there and have people to think about that. Hey, this thing can go many different ways. We really don't know which one. We really can't put our finger on it, but that makes it worse because there's so many things that's going on that we can't pinpoint one reason on why the offense isn't scoring in the points. It should have been no reason why we couldn't score more points than the Panthers and the Steelers those two games. Scoring 3 points against the Panthers is that was rock bottom. And honestly, it supposed to have been a shutout. We kicked that field goal when we was already conceding the game. That was a shutout. Essentially, we got shut out by the Panthers. That's a huge call for concern. You play a decimated Steelers team with literally nobody on the defense to account for, but Cam Hayward and I forget the guy name. Uh, I forget the guy name. I think he playing safety. Cam Hayward, maybe the other guy Oga Zombie, and I forget the guy name. He played linebacker safety, but he has a brother. I think the brother played for the Bills. But essentially, the Saints had no business winning that game. They scored 20 points. We scored 18. These are two games, giveaway games, easy games, games that we should have stepped on these guys and built our confidence on to get ready for a Thursday night game against Lamar Jackson, to kind of have ourselves in a more confident mood to take on this guy, and we couldn't get it done. That's a cause for concern, you know. And people say, well, the defense isn't doing this. Well, the defense is doing the best they can. The defense is still ranked one of the top defenses in the league. We're only allowing 17 points a game. That should be that's good enough to win most games in the league. If you're keeping your opponent to 17 points or less, that means you should win most of your games, especially if you have an offense like ours. So the defense is far from the reason on why we're losing games. Yeah, they do give up third down conversions here and there, and it hurts and it kills us. But my take is that we should have never been in those predicaments in the first place if the offense is holding up their end of the deal. We're not playing complementary football. The offense is not scoring. So essentially, it's a one-sided game. The defense is charged with stopping the team and taking the ball away and scoring just to help an offense that seems to can't get out his way. And that's not complementary football for anyone, even the coaching staff, to say the defense could be playing better. Yeah, they can, but that's not the problem. The offense is way off the mark on productivity, and the offense is doing anything. The offense isn't doing anything to help the defense at all. Nothing. They thank you. The offense is lethargic. They don't. They're not. They're not. It's like they're not even showing up. It's like players are checked out. Players don't even give a damn. So it's one thing to say the defense is giving up third downs, but we're still holding teams to 17 points a game. That's more than enough, or that's way better than a lot of the teams that still winning games. Like if you go in and say we can spot every team we play 17 points, if every team we play and say the most they can score is 17 points, we should go undefeated because we have an offense that's capable of 30 points easy. No matter who we playing, no matter what the defense we're playing, because of who we have in place in the Tom Brady's a quarterback, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Leonard Fournette. And even with the offensive line woes, we should still be good for at least 24 to 30 points a game, no matter what. And we're not pulling it off. So it's not about us, it's not that we're losing games because of the defense. Yeah, can the defense play better? Sure, of course. But to expect the defense to basically shut out every team or have a team score 3 points or less or 7 points or less is not ideal. It's not reality. The point is that the defense is not getting any help from the offense, and it's putting the defense in a bad situation each game to do more and then they play hero ball for the simple fact that they know the offense can't can't do anything. We have to help the offense. We got to get turnovers to help the offense when it shouldn't be there. Turnovers should be a bonus with this offense because the offense should be scoring on his own anyway. You know, the offense come out, they punt for an entire half, and then you wonder why the defense isn't motivated in the second half. Well, you're burning your defense out because the offense isn't holding the ball long enough. We're not chewing any clock or reduce go for a drive, but we can't cash those in for seven. We cash it in for a three or just turn the ball over or whatever the case is, have to point, whatever the end result is. Right now, man, we have to figure out what's the problem on offense. And a lot of people are asking for Byron Leftwich head and is Tom Brady done and all these things. I think it's a combination of things. I don't think it has anything to do with Tom per se. Uh, I just feel like this play calling and the offensive line struggles. is our two main culprits. And it's hard to pinpoint which is which because once again, what if Byron Leftwich is calling the right plays and we just have a bad offensive line? They won't allow the play to get off the ground. Lenny gets the ball. It might be a good call for a run play, a good run up the good, but Lenny literally don't have anywhere to go. Most times Lenny get the ball, it's already a guy busting through the line. He don't have anywhere to go. It's no hold. That's when it can be offensive line problems. Or you're in situational football and you're just not calling good plays. That's play calling. So I think when it comes down to the offense, those are the two main reasons. And they both can be true that one affects the other. As far as offensive line, lack of offensive line blocking, the lack of blocking on the offensive line on the left side, particularly can affect play calling because if you know the offensive line on the left side isn't holding up, which is Brady blind side, you kind of mindful of what plays you call because you don't want Brady to get hit from the back and basically get strip sack and stuff like that. Knowing that Donovan Smith is not 100% with a bad elbow, you're kind of mindful of what you're calling, especially if this team has a good interior and a good pass rusher like the Panthers. You got Derrick Brown in the interior, you got Brian Burns rushing the passer. Both of those guys had their way, like they did. Brian Burns had sacks. Derrick Brown was getting to the quarterback. We couldn't run the ball. Brian Burns was all over the field. This is why I say that either play calling is suffering because of that fact, or the play calling is good enough to compensate for the fact that the old offensive line isn't blocking good, particularly on their right side. Um, it's weird. I don't know where we go from here. Like I say, we got the Ravens up next on Thursday night football. And quite honestly, it's kind of the worst situation for us because we definitely don't need a short week after that game from the Panthers. We definitely need some time to sit down, look ourselves in the mirror, and see what's going on and find out what is the real problem on why this offense is basically ineffective. And you can't hold the defense to any type. You can't blame the defense for holding teams to 20 points or less and say that's the reason why we're losing. That's not the reason why we're losing. We still have a top defense far as points being scored on us. Yeah, people are starting to run the ball on us, but I attribute to that to Akeem Hicks still been out of the lineup. I was having a conversation with this guy about it, and he couldn't really understand how a defensive unit works, especially in 3-4. The reason why everybody is asking for Sue because Sue was one of those players that was a good book end, left end type of D end that could help plug up the middle. Hicks was brought in to be the upgrade, in which he is, but he tore his something in his foot. He can't play. So now they reduces us down to starting Nacho or Logan Hall in his place. And those guys simply just can't hold up. They're not big enough, they're not strong enough, they're not talented enough to play their position full time as a starter to basically keep their D line short up. We're losing the battle in the trenches as far as the D line. We're not a good defensive line with Hicks being out of the lineup because now that adds more attention to Vita Vea. So now instead of Vita Vea getting maybe double team, he's getting triple team because you can play William Ghost in one on one. You can play Logan Hall or Nacho one on one. You don't have to double team with King Hicks and double team Vita Vea. And now you have a guy like Ghost and it might sneak through, or you can blitz Devin White through the A gap, or you can bring a guy around the edge like Shea Barrett because your defensive line is already the offensive line is basically has a handful with three big guys in the middle. That's not the case anymore with Hicks being out. So when people say, "Oh, we getting ran on," it's not because of you know Todd Bowles calling the wrong defensive plays. I think is I think that us being without Hicks and Sue, it's the same thing. They're both the same type of player, same size. We don't have that type of player on the defensive line, and you're bringing in a smaller player or inexperienced player in Logan Hall or a smaller player in Nacho that they can't hold up. The defense work as a unit. So that's the defensive line. If the defensive line is compromised and they're losing the battle in the trenches, guess what they do? They expose the second level in the linebackers. Now, people are saying that Devin White is not playing good. He's fourth in the league in missed tackles, and he's having the worst season ever. And I just don't think that's the case. You can find any stat to prove your point about how bad he's playing. I can find any stat to prove my point on how good he is playing, regardless. Devin White is still one of the top linebackers in the league, top young linebackers in the league. He's going to be a Buccaneer for the next 5, 6 years, so he's not going anywhere. He still is very much talented. This guy was literally the defensive player of the month less than 30 days ago, and people are saying that he's down there a bust. He's not playing well, and he's still missing tackles, and he get beat in pass coverage. Yeah, 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 yeah. I said, as great as Levante Davis been for us, Levante David miss tackles. Levante David get beats in pass coverage. Levante David does shoot the wrong gap at times. The problem is that I think that people don't like Devin White because he's vocal, he's outspoken. He's one of those guys that he like to talk his shit and get on the field and back it up. And when sometimes he have those lapses in them pass coverages and he get caught looking in the backfield and a running back slips out and get a touchdown on him like they did in the Steelers game, or a tight end kind of beat him on a cross or in the middle of the field, and or he just shooting the wrong gap, or he missing those tackles, all those shortcomings that Devin White may have, you know, people like to harp on him because he's already the easy target. You people feel some type of way about Devin White, and you got people that say, well, since he's a fifth overall pick, he can't do that. Well, he's not perfect, and for you to say that since he's a fifth overall pick, he has to play flawless is not realistic. The guy's gonna make mistakes. He's in his fourth year. We already picked up his fifth year option, so he's not going anywhere. Devin White is not the problem on the defense. Yes, can he play better? Yes. Can he cover better? Yes. He can get better in a lot of things, but it's room for that. It's not like he's in his 10th year and still making the same mistakes. That'd be a cause of concern. Uh, but as far as Devin White is still one of the most explosive, talented, outspoken players on his team, a true captain, the heart and soul of their defense by far. It's nothing wrong with Devin White, man. Devin White have his problems, but he's not the issue on why this defense is having certain breakthroughs and breakdowns. It's not. And that's not to just defend him because I'm a Devin White fan. They're just being realistic about it. Because, like I say, if you can pull up stats on Pro Football Focus on how bad Devin White is playing, and I don't know where they get their metrics from, and do they have a team of people watching every NFL game and grading them like it is, or is it just based off anything else? But the eye test still he still passes the eye test. Is one of those linebackers that teams will account for, will scheme for, scheme against for. He's still one of the best linebackers in the league by far. So Devin White is not, you know, one of these guys is falling off a cliff or he's not as good. He's overhyped. That's bullshit. Again, when you have a defensive line that's compromised, you have a defensive line that's not winning in the trenches, it exposes the second level in guys like Devin White, and it allow teams to pick on Devin White for things they know he's not good at, including pass coverage and running misdirection and get him caught up because Devin White loves to stop the run, but he has to get better to pass. Todd Bowles came out and said this. We all understand it. So when you have teams that can win their battle in the trenches, now they can focus on the second level. And how can we throw these linebackers off, particularly Devin White, who's one of them guys that love to, run full speed when he thinks the play is going a certain way. How can we play action boot him? How can we run a misdirection to get him going one way and get him and run the play the other way? That's how guys like that get exposed. And I told people when we had Suit, Devin White didn't get exposed like that. When Hit was playing against the Cowboys, Devin White looked good. Him and Levante David was shining. Devin White was looking to his old self. But as soon as Hitch went out and that D line started getting compromised and they start losing in the trenches, that leads people like Devin White and Levante David to get exposed and make their jobs a lot harder because now they have to compensate for the lack thereof of a defensive line and trying to stop runs before they actually get going into the second level. So they're gonna make their mistakes. They're gonna gamble on hitting a gap or trying to and try to run through a gap or try to beat a running back to the spot before you get going. And sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. But that's what happens when you have a person like Akeem Hicks as a person that plays their position is very important. People say, "Oh, bring Sue back," but I asked them if Sue was still on the team and he got hurt, it would be the same result. So it's not about just Sue being on the team; it's about us missing that player like Sue and or Hicks on that defensive line that's allowing the defensive line to lose in the trenches, which effectively exposes the second level and the linebackers and make their job a lot harder and kind of open them up for making mistakes as well. And when that's going on, that floods back into the secondary. And it doesn't help when most of our secondary is banged up. Carlton Davis got a bad hip. Logan Ryan is on IR. Antoine Winfield is out on concussion. So you have three starters that's out. We're playing a rookie in Zion McCullum, starting a rookie, man, that got picked on against the Panthers that, you're gonna expect that to happen because he had no business starting. Like he's not ready. He's not, he's a fifth round pick. He's gonna get picked on. They know he's not ready. There was a kind of bullshit bubble bust a cherry type of moment for him. But this is what you open up the rest of the defense up to when you're not winning in the trenches. And when you're not running in the trenches, teams and offensive coordinators and quarterbacks are smart enough to start pinpointing where our weaknesses are. If you're winning in the trenches, you help everybody else on the back end. But when you're not winning in the trenches, they make the cornerbacks job harder because now they got to hold coverage longer, which is hard to do. Ask yourself why the Chiefs was able to do a lot of what they did because we had no pressure up front. They was able to beat us in the trenches. So Mahomes have all day to run around and play backyard football. And when he has time to do that, no linebacker or secondary can cover receivers long enough or understand or predict where wide receivers and tight ends are going when Mahomes is scrambling with the ball to get the ball. They're going to be in bad situations. So again, I think losing Hicks is a huge blow to the whole defensive unit when you say, okay, asking Nacho or asking Logan Hall to fill his shoes, and they just simply can't. We haven't grown pains with Logan Hall. We haven't grown pains with Tryon because now Tryon has to be what JPP was, a guy, a bookend type of guy, a guy that can play the run and rush the pass. Tryon is learning. He's in a position where he has to learn and he has to get better and take his bumps and bruises. So we have to live with him. People say, well, Shake Barrett is fill out the map. Well, again, it comes down to the defense. If the defensive line, if the defensive line is not winning in the trenches, that makes a guy like Shake Barrett job harder to rush the passer because now he is getting handled. He has to beat a guy every play, or he's getting double teamed, or maybe the play calling is, hey, we can't afford for you to rush a quarterback. We need you to play off and cover the flat or look for this and look for this in the pass game because of the fact that we can we need you out in coverage. You know, is why rush him and he's not gonna get home. Keep him out in coverage. So I think that's one of the situations that's going on as well. So not to say that the defense is affected by one player, but as a unit, when you lose a starter like a Hicks, or once again, if you had Sue, if we had Sue and we lost him, it definitely affects the rest of the defensive unit because once again, it's just kind of a trickle down effect, a domino effect on how the second and third level of the defense is kind of opening themselves up and susceptible for different things and being opened up and being exposed to making mistakes. When you have a good defense line and you're winning in the trenches, everything else kind of falls in place. When the defensive line is winning in the trenches and they're bringing pressure and they're getting home without adding other blockers, they free up a guy like Levante David and Devin White to fly around and get to the ball. And when you got Levante David and Devin White flying around getting to the ball, guess what the secondary is able to do? Play off, sit on routes. They don't have to jump anything. They can just basically sit back and react because one, pressure is getting home without blitz, so the quarterback has less time to throw. Two, you have linebackers that's free and roaming, so they're covering tight ends, and you might have a guy that's blitzing and Darren White or Levante Davis, so it's adding pressure. So what they can do is just sit on routes and hope that balls coming out quicker than they want to, and they can open up for turnovers and interceptions. So it all works together. You can't have a good secondary and a good linebacker core and a and a not good defensive lineman because it just doesn't work. Like you have to understand how football works and how a defensive unit works. Like they say, it was the big debate about when we drafted Vita Vea, like, oh, we should have got Derwin James. Well, the thing is, you can cover receivers all day long, but if you can't get to the quarterback, it doesn't matter. So we had to invest in getting Vita Vea in the trenches because we had to be able to stop the run and affect the pass and have a better pass rush and be able to affect the quarterback in the pocket. Therefore, you may not have a Derwin James in the secondary, but you can have somebody back there that knows to do. If you have a good defensive line, they can affect the pressure. They can, crush the pocket, move the pocket, give the quarterback a hard time. Everything else works together. Again, the defense is, and I say all this to say this, that at the end of the day, even though those are things I pick out, I just want to touch on because that's what people are bringing up. But again, the defense isn't the problem. We're still holding teams to 17 points per game. That's more than enough for the offense to score more and win the game. The problem with this team is the offense. We cannot score points. Point blank, period. Against good teams, against bad teams, we cannot score points. We cannot turn drives into 7 points. We're not going to win games by kicking field goals. We cannot basically move the ball upfield and then get in the red zone and not score. That's not how we win. And you hear the offensive guys and you hear Brady say, we have to score points. That's literally the way why we're losing. We're not losing because the team is scoring 18 points on us or the team scored 24 points on us. We're losing because we're not scoring points. We're not helping the defense out. If we're scoring points, they put a lot of pressure on the opposing team's offense to score points. They change up the way they're playing. They're playing. They change up the way their calls are being made. They change up a lot of things. But when we're not scoring points, there's no pressure on the other team offense to score as well, or just be in that mode where they have to score and start taking chances. They really can just play conservative football, run the ball, throw when they have to, and just wait for the defense to be in a break, which always going to happen. No defense is just built like a brick wall. All defense is going to build and break at some point in the game. So for the times we do bend and break, it's not good. It is those third down conversions toward the end of the game, but those are not the reason why we're losing games. Those are help us win a game. They will help. They will definitely help. But when you're talking about from a whole standpoint throughout the whole game, if you're actually watching the games, not looking at highlights and not looking at box scores, if you're actually watching the game and using the eye test, the offense is just not holding up the end of the bargain, and it makes everything else just as much harder. It makes the defense job just as much harder because now they have even more pressure to stop the offense from scoring because they know that if the game get too out of hand, our offense won't be able to get back into the game. That's not a good way to play defense. If you're going out there and you're confident that, hey man, even if they do score on us, or even if we do give up this play or give up some points, we know the offense can come back out there and hit them, come back out there and score. That's a different way of playing defense. But when you're having that pressure and having that task of trying to down there play lights out football, lights out defense each game for the simple fact that, hey, we need to keep the score as low as possible so the offense can have a chance. That's not good football. That's not complimentary football. We're not playing complimentary football. Even with special teams, I think Darden is proving that he's not really good in the return game. He's not good in the receiving game. I just think the guy's a little bit too small. I like him, but I just think he's too light in the ass for what we're asking him to do. Scotty Miller, I like him, but we're not using him as a deep threat anymore. Maybe teams are keyed off on that. Maybe, just maybe, like, and I'll say this, just maybe it's a method to all this madness. Maybe we're going through this thing trying to see what work, what don't work. Like they say, we're saving Julio for the long haul. Maybe we have some things that we're just trying to figure out right now while we still have the time to either lose some games and we have some room to kind of make our mistakes and figure out what's work so we can all put this all together and make a good run toward the end of the season and get in the playoffs. We're still topping the division. The division is not good. Um, Saints isn't going anywhere. Falcons probably the best team in the league beside us. Panthers is a fire sale. They're not expected to win anything. So it's a good opportunity to lose games. It's a good opportunity to kind of figure out who we are and what works and what not. That's just being very optimistic that again it's a method to the madness. If it's not, and it's just how we is, then we're in trouble. We're not expected to go far in the playoffs, even if we make it. So deep down, like I say, man, I'm not a coach. I'm not on the staff. I'm not in these rooms, these coaching meetings, and what's going on. I'm not out there looking at players and evaluating players. I'm just speaking from a fan's perspective. I'm speaking from just what product they're putting on the field each Sunday. Is something wrong? Offensively, it's something wrong. Offense is not holding up the end of the bargain. It's making things entirely too bad on the defense, too hard on the defense, and we're expecting the defense to play basically lights out football just so the offense can have a chance. You have people say, well, the defense need to get turnovers to get the offense more chances with the ball. Well, I ask you, what the hell the offense is doing with the ball when they do have it? You know, the Panthers game, we punted every possession in the first half. That's not on the defense not getting enough turnovers. It's not. You can't ask the defense to give you turnovers, but at the same time, the offense is not holding up the end of the bargain. For a team like us, with the firepower we have, turnovers should be a bonus. It should be a bonus. When we get turnovers, it should be a bonus. It shouldn't be a situation where we need turnovers to win a game when we have all the offensive firepower we have. It shouldn't. Now I get it. When you play teams like the Chiefs, yeah, you need those turnovers. When you playing teams that can score points and stuff like that, yeah, you need those turnovers. You playing the Ravens, yeah, you need some turnover. You need a turnover or two to kind of tip the scale for us. But when we playing teams like the Steelers with a decimated defense, we playing a team like the Panthers who just literally just fire and selling all their guys, and they're not motivated to win. Winning down there is hurting them more than helping them. You're playing teams that's just not good teams. We shouldn't need turnovers to win. We shouldn't need turnovers to tip the scale on whether we win or not. We shouldn't. Tom Brady isn't turning the ball over, and that's really good. That's really the only bright spot out of the offense that we're losing these games, and it's not because of turnovers. Tom Brady is being excellent with securing the ball safety. He's only had one interception this season. So that's a huge help. Just imagine if we were, sprinkling a turnover here and there, an interception there, a lost fumble here and there, they even be more worse. And just imagine what the scores would be then. Then what would people say about the defense? Well, we lost to such 30-3. Well, just imagine if Tom Brady threw up two picks, one of them being a pick six, and gave up a fumble, and they ran that back, a scoop and score. Are you really putting that on the defense then? So, like I say, man, for people that's holding the defense to the fire, saying the defense is the problem, I get it. A lot of people just frustrated. They want somebody to blame. They want to point the finger. I feel like there's plenty of blame to go around. I'm not saying the defense can't play better. I'm not saying players like Devin White can't play better. I'm not saying that everyone can't play better. Even Tom Brady can play better. Everyone can play better. Mike Evans can play better. But I think the bulk of the blame is going on the offensive side. Now, whether it's play calling or whether it's the offensive line can't hold up, that's affecting play calling. That's one of them things I'm really trying to wait and see and figure out. I think it's a combination of both, but I also can look at it and say, okay, well, damn, if I know I got a bad offensive line, that's definitely going to affect what type of plays I'm calling. That's common sense. You're not going to be calling plays where you actually tell you, well, you need 3 or 4 seconds in the pocket for Tom Brady to get the ball out when you know you only got 2 seconds worth of blocking on the offensive line. You're not going to do that. You're not going to call big, long, developing route plays when you know you can't hold up on the offensive line. You're just not going to do it. It's not good for business. Because guess what Tom Brady going to do? Get rid of the ball. So you can't call those plays. You should, nor should you call those plays if you know your offensive line has a weakness like that. And there's a huge weakness in Luke Gedeke. You can't do it. You can't call certain run plays because you know that Luke Gedeke is going to get beat. So again, people say the play calling, yes, it could be better, but I say two things can be true. Play calling can be better. And I can also say that the offensive line not blocking as well is affecting the plays that should work. Fact. So we have to figure it out, man. I think the offensive line has to show up this Thursday against the Ravens, man. They have to show up. If they don't, it's gonna be a bad recipe because after then we play the Rams, and that's a revenge game, and we definitely don't want to go into that game on a loss. After that, we go to Germany to Seattle, so we don't want to take that long trip with two more losses on a 4-game losing skid. We don't want to do that. So I hope we can put it together and we can win against this Raven team. The Raven team is not good defensively. You can pass out on them. Our old friend JPP is over there, so JPP is telling them everything about us, all our weaknesses, who is good, how to beat who, what to look for when we line up in certain formations, what to key on, and when you see certain people in motion and things like that, what Tom Brady likes to do. JPP knows his offense, how to beat his offense because he practiced against it, and he know who is good and where they're good and where they're not. And that's just the reality of it. And JPP, just like when he was here and was going up to New York, you can't tell me that he was telling us things about New York and what to look out for, even though he was removed from them for a long time. It was kind of different, but he was still giving you whatever he could as far as insight. So JPP is used to just play for us last year. He know this team in and out, especially on the offensive side because he used to play against us. He know who was good, who was where the weak points at. And not only does he know, the whole league knows that the weak point is in the interior of this offensive line. So let's see how this goes. I think Lamar Jackson is going to be Lamar Jackson. I think Devin White has a handful. Keep an eye on Lamar Jackson. I think Levante Davis is going to have his handful. Keep an eye on Mark Andrews. I'm not really worried about the receivers, Sammy Watkins and all them. I think we hold up. But the point is that Lamar Jackson is a dual threat. He can run and he can pass also. He's not just a running back. He can actually throw the ball also. It's not perfect. It's not good, but he got an arm. He do got DJX over there. Deshaun Jackson just signed with the Ravens. That's a deep threat. Antoine Winfield is out. So that leaves our back end up to Mike Edwards and Keanu Neal. And Mike Edwards has been underwhelming because you see why he was a rotational player when we had Whitehead. He's good as a ball hawk. Is he good in run support? Not really. But is he good to be a full-time starter? It doesn't look like it. But that's why we had the safety rotation we had with Winfield and Logan Ryan coming in and out as well. Logan Ryan is down. Antoine Winfield is down. Those are two bad safeties. Keanu Neal is proving pretty good. He's very good in run support. I mean, I think he's an underrated player for us. I think he's really good. He's showing up. He's coming along. He's starting to flash on certain plays and stuff like that. So I think Keanu Neal is going to have him a good game. I think he's starting to pick up and make the best out of his reps now. But I think Mike Edwards could play a little better, man. I think he's getting beat and making mental errors on things like in the Panthers game. We're playing quarters. If I look at the defense, it looked like we're playing quarters. Basically, just don't let nobody get behind you. What Mike Edwards do? He let somebody get behind, run right past him. You can't have that, man. That was for 7. So for that, yeah, defense gave us 7 on that. I just think this game is going to really come down to Lamar Jackson, the trenches, and the linebackers. If we're not winning in the trenches, Devin White and Levante Davis going to have a long day trying to keep an eye on Lamar Jackson, on whether he's going to run or who he's going to pass to, and making sure they keep an eye on Mark Andrews. If we can control the line of scrimmage, that would make Levante Davis and Devin White job a lot easier. It would make the secondary job a lot easier, and Lord knows they need it because if Carl Davis doesn't play, that means Zion McCullough is out there again. We have to win in the trenches. Defensive line is not winning in the trenches like we need to. We really need Hicks back to get him back in the fold so we can start, running the defense like we want to, taking up blocks and things like that of that nature, and just kind of just get back into what we want to do as a defense. We really can't do what we want as a defense because Nacho is too small. He can't really, take up blocks and hit those and fill those gaps like a Sue or Hicks can. And that's really a big problem on the defensive line. Logan Hall, man, I like him. He's coming along, but he's a rookie. It's growing pains. He has to learn a lot of nuances of it, of his position. He's getting swapped on the left side and the right side. We're trying to find out what works for him. He's gonna have to grow. Logan Hall, he's the replacement for Golston. So, Golston's up there in age. Golston's not gonna do anything for you, but he's gonna make sure he doesn't let anything get by him as well. So he's just a very even keel player, old steady Eddie. Joe Tryon, man, like we're banking on him to take a step in his development this year and start learning how to rush the pass and set the edge. But this guy has a lot of energy, a lot of speed, but just the inexperience is just killing him. You can watch him and he just makes certain mental errors, man, and it's just like he's gonna get better at it. But we have to deal with it. Just have to deal with it. And Shea Barrett, you want more out of him, but the guy hand is tied. What you want him to do? Like I say, I wouldn't be surprised that certain play calls is not having him to rush the passer because if you do tend to run the passer and he don't get home, that's a waste. That's a waste of a rep for him when you can have him out in zone trying to cover what's going on. So it's just a tricky time. If our defensive line end up the par isn't full strength, we're having a guy like a Hicks or Sue in the mix. It just make everyone else's job harder, man. This unit is based on certain things to make it all work. So I think, man, we figured out with the Ravens. I think we keeping our eye on Lamar Jackson going to be a handful, but we have to do something. Like Tabo said, this is a pride game. This is a pride game. Uh, we have to get out there and start fast. We have to get out there and show ourselves that we can play this game. Show ourselves that we're not a 3-4 team. We're not a team that lost. We're not the team that people think we are. They lost to the Steelers and the Panthers. You know, but that goes from player and coaching. I mean, like I say, I think all this lack of success is happening at a weird time. Is an irony that we're not doing good and we're looking so bad on offense when this whole Brady Arians beef thing and getting him kicked upstairs and Arian saying he's not part of the offense. He's done. He's completely hands off with coaching, and now everything's gone to hell on the offensive side. It's kind of weird that now you have a person like Todd Bowles taking over head coach position, and the team is just not responding to it. The team basically took on his identity of just being dry and boring, dry and stale, unmotivated. The way Todd Bowles speaks his whole personality, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's a grown man. He is what he is. He is what it is. But you know, a team identity takes after their head coach, and we look like we're a team whose head coach is a guy like Todd Bowles. Just the energy is unmotivated. It's dry. I mean, it's just plain Jane, man. Like, with Bruce Arians, we had a certain fire about ourselves, a certain edge about ourselves. Like, hey, no risk and no biscuit. Damn it, we gonna go for it and we gonna live the results. Now it's just looking like, oh, we just want to be by the book. We just want to just come out and do our job. It's just tired. We look tired. We look dry. We have no juice. And Russell Gage said it himself. This is the first year guy in Tampa that came out of Atlanta, and Atlanta has been a habitual loser for a while, even since he's been there. And when a guy come from a loser team and come to a team that just won a Super Bowl and say, "Well, hey man, it's just no juice, it's no motivation, it's no energy. Even when you catch a ball, it's just no energy." That's a lot to say about what's going on, man. So hopefully, it's been some talks. It's been some player talks. I don't know if they had a players only meeting where they just kind of go in and just let everybody know what's going on, and people need to get stuff out their chest, or look in the mirror and figure it out. But it has to change, and unfortunately, having a short week against the Ravens is not going to help. But it's also a situation where they can quickly turn this thing around in a quick fashion, and have some extra days to rest and get ready for the Rams. So we hope. Again, man, like I said, it was just me tapping in on the pod, giving a week 7 update, man, week 7 report card on the team. That's just my perspective on what's going on with the team. Like I said, I watch every game. I don't stream it. I'm watching on Sunday Ticket, man. I'm watching them, and like I say, the eye test, not stats and box scores. Watch the eye test of what's going on. There's a lot of improvements to be made on all three phases, especially offense. I think special teams. I think I like to see Rashad. I like seeing Rashad White back there returning kicks. Just far as the punt return, Darden is kind of proving that, hey man, you this may be your last year. You may be getting cut. I think we're gonna kind of get rid of him and Scotty Miller. A lot of these guys, man, especially those two guys, those smaller guys, is just not being able to carve themselves a productive role in this offense. I think they got to go. Darden, as far as a guy that's predicated on speed and twitch and all this, he simply just can't break loose. He's small. You scared he'll get hit in front of the ball. We need more production out of the punt, out of special teams, specifically in punt return. Even with kick return, Rashad White, man, the rookie, man. I mean, I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great player. He has great ball vision, and that's probably the reason why they put him back there in kick return. But we just need more out of that phase of the team. Defense can be better. Like I say, I think a lot of our defensive woes starting with that defensive line not is being starting with the defensive line being compromised. Losing Hicks was a huge blow because that's essentially like if we had Sue and we lost him, it'd be the same result. This is why teams is running on us. Like I say, when Hicks was playing, when everybody was healthy and we played the Cowboys, we looked like the same defense that was from last year. Like we picked up where we left off. It was kind of a little rusty, but essentially we was the same defense. Teams couldn't run. Linebacker was able to fly around, and the secondary didn't have a hard time covering receivers. Now all is going to hell because one, we can't win in the trenches. We can't get pressure with our front three or front four. What are we doing? Um, and we're asking linebackers to do more at their position to make up for the lack of productivity and lack of pressure and lack of push from the defensive line. And in return, that leaves the secondary hung out to dry because now if we're not getting the pressure, they have to cover longer. And quarterbacks just have enough time to get the ball out. And when you're playing mobile quarterbacks like a PJ Walker or a Patrick Mahomes, and it's coming up as far as Lamar Jackson, it's just a bad recipe. So hopefully when Hicks come back, things kind of get back to normal. We get Carlton Davis back. We get Carlton Davis back. We get Antoine Winfield back from concussion. We start getting these guys back. Logan Ryan's going to come back later on in the season. If we can get this defense back as a whole unit and healthy, I think we're going to be good to go. As far as having the defense been able to carry the team, but none of that matters if the offense can't score points. We will not win any game if the offense can't score more than 3 points. Simple as that. Defense is averaging the defense teams average 17 points a game on us. The offense average 17 points a game on scoring. That's a break even team. We're not going to win many games. So, guys, I appreciate y'all listening, man. Make sure I hit the like button, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Come check out the Swords and Candy Book podcast, man. You can find me on Twitter at SE Bucks Pod. You can find me on Facebook page is Swords and Candy's Book Podcast. Feel free to tweet me, send me DMs, at me, do whatever you need to do, man. If you like this content, you like this perspective, you like what I'm talking about, and what's going on with this Buck team, feel free to comment. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll be getting better with putting more content out as the season goes along. But yeah, man, like I say, that's just my perspective. That's my week 7 report card on this team going into the right before the Thursday night football game against the Ravens. It's a big game. It's a huge game. It's not an easy one. The Ravens, even though they have their defensive struggles, they're still not a team to sneeze at. We have our hands full with these guys. They just hope we able to just kind of get the job done and get a W. Like Todd Bow said, this is a pride game. Let's hope we can get a W to kind of show and make ourselves feel like we can compete and play and deserve to win some games. But we have to go out there and earn it. Um, Offense has to show up. Defense has to continue doing what they're doing, just a little bit better. Special teams have to improve. But again, it has to start with winning the battle in the trenches, offensively and defensively. And the offense has to show up to score points and do more than what they're doing, a lot more than what they're doing. Otherwise, it's nothing more the defense can do. It's unfair to ask the defense to get turnovers when the offense isn't doing anything with the ball in the first place. All right, guys, y'all have a good one, man. Appreciate y'all listening. Peace.